All right. Welcome, everybody. I see people joining us. We're going to give people a couple of minutes to join, but for those of you who are with us, welcome to GreenSlate's webinar. This one is one of our quick takes looking at customize to optimize and how those customizations and optimizations can help simplify your workflow in GreenSlate. So we are so glad that you're taking a few minutes out of your day on Friday here to spend with us. So while we are waiting for everyone to join, we would love to know who's here, who's with us. So I see somebody already put a message in. That is excellent. Thank you so much. Let me see here. There we go. I wanted to make that change. So if you want to put in the chat at the bottom of your screen where you're joining from, and if you've used GreenSlate before, we'd love to kind of know who's with us here today. So I see Sharon has already put in. So welcome, Sharon. Glad you're here this Friday. Happy Friday. And anybody else want to speak up and say who you are or where? Oh, there we go. We've got somebody from Louisiana and we got somebody else from Torrance who has used GreenSlate. A couple of other, a longtime user of GreenSlate. Excellent. A couple of different people that have not used GreenSlate. Welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Somebody else from, we got people from all over the country too. That's awesome. Excellent. All right. You guys can continue to put those in. North Dakota, nice. One of my favorite state parks is in North Dakota. Little asides I like to add, apparently. Anyway, welcome everybody. I'm Kimberly. I'm going to be your host today. Again, this is GreenSlate's Quick Take webinar, Customize to Optimize, and how to simplify your workflow with GreenSlate using our customizations and those optimizations. So we're going to go ahead and get started to be respectful of everybody's time. So quickly before we get started, I just want to let you know that like I said, we're so happy that you're here with us on Friday and you're spending your day with, not your day, but a little bit of time on your Friday with us. So, and we would absolutely love to have you participate in the webinar today. That chat box that you used already to tell us where you were from and whether you'd used GreenSlate before, that is what we would absolutely love you to use if you have comments during the webinar. And then you'll also see at the bottom of your screen a little Q&A button. So if you have questions, go ahead and put those in that box. And you can put them in at any time. So if you're like me and 10 minutes from now, you're going to have forgotten your question, go ahead and put it in when you remember it. It works perfectly well. And then we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. And also at the end of the webinar, if you would like to raise your hand, we will be willing to take some live questions as well. So if that's something that you would like to ask your question that way, toward the end of the webinar, we'll let you know about that. And as you noticed when you joined, we are recording the webinar and we will email a link with the recording to each of you who registered and are here today, and to those who registered as well. So, so check your inbox for that next week. We'll get that over to you. Again, we are here for GreenSlate's Quick Take Customize to Optimize webinar, and we're so glad you're here. Our presenters today are Laura and Jenna, and I'm going to toss it over to both of you. And why don't you guys start by introducing yourselves?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Laura Walton. I'm the VP of Client Success at GreenSlate. I've been at GreenSlate for about to be 9 years. So I started on the application support side of things and then growing out our digital success department, which is like dedicated to, getting everyone on the all-in-one app and digital adoption. And now I oversee our client success department, which are the teams who get your projects set up, get you trained, support you throughout production. So yeah, it's really great to be here today and to get to share this with you all. And I'll hand it over to Jenna.
Thanks, Laura. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenna Kay. I'm the head of training here at GreenSlate. I'm a former production accountant. I started in production accounting in 2009. out of California, out of Los Angeles, and I was in locations before then. I am also a former GreenSlate user. I was fortunate enough to, after using GreenSlate, to be hired on to create a training program to help kind of bridge that gap between accountants and the software, and how we can make that software utilize to make that software work for us. And it's amazing. So that being said, I will toss it back over to Kimberly. Oh, and we forgot, I didn't do my agendas. I'm sorry, Kimberly, I apologize. Today during our webinar, we're going to talk about our approval flows, how our approval flows are customized, how our rush approvals can help you, how you can utilize your email reminders to help you optimize your workflow, how customizing your grids and your views, and how bulk actions, how we can download in bulk, how we can make some changes in bulk, how we can deal with our audits, and how we can track everything. And we're going to talk about how all of that can customize your workflow. So now back to you, Kimberly.
I think we're going to head over to Laura.
Yeah, I'll take it out. Thank you guys. All right, I'm
Friday.
gonna go
We'll
ahead.
just go with the flow,
It's
right?
Friday.
Totally. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Just make sure I share the correct one. Okay, great. All right. So, I know some of you might be new users. I recognize some names on there I've probably spoken to you before, but first I just want to start it with just like a general overview of the GreenSlate application interface. So what we're looking at right now is my demo project. It looks exactly the same as production when you get up and running with GreenSlate. Everything is web-based, so everything I show you today, you can also complete on a mobile device. It's a completely responsive application, so it all just resizes and reformats a bit, but you have the same functionality there. And you can download the app for iPhones and Androids. So it makes getting submissions and approvals from wherever you are really easy. Now, what you see when you log in is dependent on the access that you have. So currently I'm logged in as someone who's like a key accountant type level. It is an all-in-one application. So that's why on my dashboard, I see tiles related to both payroll and accounting. Same thing on my left navigation over here. I see options for both payroll and accounting. So like a crew member, they would see a lot less when they log in because for the most part, they just have access to do their own start work and time cards. So they really only see 3 tiles here and a few options in the My Profile section. So it's much simpler. If you do have access to a lot on the left navigation, you can organize it a bit. So you can collapse sections if there's certain ones you don't go to as often. And you can also pin modules. So anything that you go to frequently, you can pin it so you can easily access it at the top while you're working. Now, GreenSlate has default roles. So, when you're going through onboarding, we can give access based on those. But the great thing too is that we can also create custom roles for you. So if there's any very specific access you would like someone to have, you let us know and we can create those roles for you to utilize on your project. Now, in addition to the role customization, we also have approval flows. So every payroll document and every accounting transaction and PO, they can each have their own approval flow. So I'm just going to give you a look at a purchase order approval flow. I'm going to click POs over here on the left so I can access the main page for it. And now I'm just going to show you a completed approval flow. So my demo project is set up with a PO approval flow that's 6 steps. Now the steps, you can have as many as you like. I always say try to keep it simple, but if you need 12 steps, we can do that for you. You can have steps that are required, and it could be that only one person can complete that step. You could have more than one person on it. So it's like an either or approval. So for example, step 3 right here, maybe that's like your first and your second, and then step 4 is just the key. You can have department heads involved with approving. So like step 2 here. We can also do conditional steps. So we can do conditions around departments. Maybe your art coordinator wants to approve in addition to the department head, but all the other departments are just one approver. So we can make one step just for the art coordinator. We can also do conditions around dollar amounts. So if, for example, the production finance exec, they only want to approve POs or transactions over a certain dollar amount, we can set that up as well. So very customizable. you know, you're going to have a technical account manager at GreenSlate who meets with you when your project starts, and then they're going to talk all of this out with you. They'll get it set up and then give access to all the approvers, and then you can start inviting employees and adding transactions from there. Great thing too, though, is, you know, especially if you're a first-time user, you get set up and you're like, you know what, like we want to change our workflow a little bit. Totally fine. We can definitely do that for you. Okay. Now, when you are on an approval flow, there's a few ways that you're going to get notified when something is pending your approval. So if I click my name up here, I can go to my email settings. And before I get into that, something I want to point out is that if you have more than one project with GreenSlate, it's still going to be one login. So you're able to just switch between those projects by clicking this drop down up here in the upper left. So I can see here I have access to 5 projects. I click it, it takes me to that project. There's no separate logging in for anything. Now, when it comes to your email notifications, you can set them on a project basis or a global setting. So I'm just going to show you from the global settings. Here we can see I can turn them on and off for different accounting transactions, different payroll documents. Now, to be completely honest, if you're on a lot of approval flows, you know, you're the key accountant, the producer, you're probably going to turn these off because your inbox is going to get flooded, and we don't want that. And you also, which I'll show you in just a sec, have in-app notifications. But use these to your advantage if you have more than one project going with us at the same time. Maybe one project is like going, it's in post. You don't have to be logging in there as much. Maybe you want to keep those emails on so it just flags it for you in your inbox. Also, like these are great for like crew members, department heads, anyone who's not logging in often, so that they get that additional notification in their inbox. But play around with them when you start your first project with us. In addition to the email settings, you also have in-app notifications. This bell drop down up here is going to show you all of your notifications across all of your projects. If you click it, it switches you to that document or transaction, and then you can approve from there. You also have a notification center, which I can access by clicking right down here at the footer of this banner, or drop down rather. And here it's going to lay all of those notifications out by document and transaction type. So again, this is very useful if you have more than one project at the same time. Let's say you're in a time crunch, but you're like, man, I got to go in, I got to get all those start forms approved so that the employees can get their time cards in. You could work from your start forms panel right here, go through, get all those pending items reviewed, and then you're good to go. If you're just working in one project, you also have project-specific notifications. So over here on the left, I can see there are 4 POs, 3 start forms, and 2 bills. Now the bill is showing in a gold color, and it shows in gold here as well. So I'm just going to open this up. Now, the reason it's showing in gold is because a rush approve was enabled on it. Now, rush approvals can be enabled on time cards, start work, all transactions. It's this toggle down here on the bottom right. You just toggle that on, and then you get a pop-up, and you can put a reason of why it's rushed. That message then will show on the transaction or time card, you know, start work, whatever. And then everyone in the approval flow, when it hits their step, will get an email letting them know this is a rushed item. So it just draws more attention to it to let it know like, hey, we need to get this approved. One thing I'll say, crew members will not have access to this. So don't worry about that. They're not going to be rushing everything to you. It's just certain, you know, roles that have this permission. But a great thing I also like love to share about this, which I didn't mention before. So I actually went on set for the Iron Claw, where I met Jenna. So that's where we got to meet. And then, you know, she came over to GreenSlate. But when I went there, her and the rest of the team were like, you know, like the app is so great. We wish we had a way that we could communicate from the app to like let like the UPM know, hey, you know, we really need to get this check request approved. Locations needs this check cut immediately. And like we can text, we can email, but it'd be great if we could just communicate from the application. So brought that feedback back to our design team. And then it was like, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 months later that they released the rush approve option. So it's just like, I really love that part of working at GreenSlate is like how receptive we are to feedback. So, you know, you guys are the ones working in the app all the time. So anything that you're like, oh, that would be great, make my life easier, always vocalize that to us. And then we'll bring it to design. And like odds are someone else might have requested already too, which just gives it, you know, more ammunition to be on our design pipeline. So we always welcome feedback. Another way that you can communicate directly from the app is with email reminders. So I'm just going to show you just from like the start forms grid over here. I'm just going to click start forms. Now, also to point out, this is a, like what we just call like it's a page where you have your grid views, which Jenna's going to get a little more into how you can customize these, but every different module has a grid view and then different ones by default. But what's great is that you can trigger email reminders from here. So if we were to pretend that these review ones actually say pending, like I can't take action, but it's pending for someone else, like maybe the employees didn't log in yet to approve their start forms, I can go in and from an individual basis, I can click actions and then send email reminder, or I can select all. And then this actions button over here on the upper right, I can click that and then send email reminder, and it will send them out all out at once. So again, just a lot of ways that you can communicate within the application to other users without having to, pick up your phone or send out an email. All right, and with that, I will hand it over to Jenna to get more into custom grid views.
Awesome, thank you, Laura. I am going to share my screen now. Let's do that one, and we will get into custom grid views. And yes, so thank you everybody for joining us. So let's get into custom grid views. So each of our modules are going to give you a grid view, just like we've gotten on the other systems in the past. And it's always frustrated me that the system gave you all of this information, but some of it was not necessary information. Some of it was, and yet it wasn't giving me some information that I really needed. And it was also laid out in a manner that didn't work for my brain. We all think things differently. We all read information differently. All of our brains work differently. And to have it be a static screen always kind of frustrated me. So one of the things many reasons I fell in love with GreenSlate, but one of them I think is amazing is the customized grid views. The fact that you can customize your screen so that you are only looking at the data and the information that is important to you on a regular basis, as well as in the order that works for you to do your job, as well as different views to do our jobs, because there are so many different ways that we do our jobs. Each module is going to open up and there's going to be a lot of tabs that we are going to give you. All of these tabs are great. They all serve a purpose. I found for me, they still sometimes had information that I didn't need or in ways that I didn't like. So I went the full customization route. And one of the things I love about that is that I can actually clear off these ones that GreenSlate gave me. These are great. And if I want to use them, I can get them anytime I want to by going over here, and they're all listed right here. They don't go anywhere. They're all just right there. I just cleared up my screen a little bit. I've already customized my screen. I've already made it cleaner and easier for my brain to read. Then I'm going to go to my default column, and then I can go to customize. So this is what we are going to give you. Here's one I've made. It's just a little slimmer. It's a little easier to read. It doesn't have the information I don't need. So my brain's not taking the time to decipher data that's unnecessary. And it's also in the manner I want to read it. I also can make sure that I set up all of my grids sort of in the same pattern so that I can train my eyes that I'm always looking for the approval flow. If I make sure that I always put my approval flow column third, no matter what module I'm in, my brain knows where to look. I know it sounds silly, but all of those nanoseconds add up over time. And we are constantly looking at our screens and flipping back and forth and looking for information. So every single nanosecond that we can clear away and get rid of gives us more lifetime back, more of our own personal time back. And I would always prefer to have that. We can also utilize these custom grid views for different ways that we do our job. I say that we have a crew member, Judy comes into my office in the beginning of a project and says, hey, there's this vendor I'm not so keen about. I just want to check their POs every time and see where we are with them. So no problem, I can get that for you. Typically that would require me to go out of my normal day, to go out of my normal routine and go to the reports module and run a report and get it to her. That takes now 5 minutes of my Friday, every Friday. within GreenSlate, because we are able to customize the grids and utilize the system to optimize our workflow, I'm able to gather that information live and in real time by just going to my grid and going to my vendors and looking for the vendor week RIP'em. You can see I also didn't even finish writing it. I just did a portion of that. There's more items here, so I'm going to go ahead and extend it so I can see all of my items. Now, this isn't a report per se. However, it's all of the information I'd be looking for in the report. What is Judy looking for? The PO number, where it is, what it was for, and how much it was, and how much is still open. That's all of the information she wants. I can actually export this view with links. One of the things that neither Laura nor I mentioned, which is amazing, is everything that's blue is drillable or linkable. So if I were to click this, it would open that PO. So this grid view here gives me live links. I can export this view with those live links in a PDF and send it over to Judy. So if I don't want to have to do this every Friday, I can go ahead and save just this tiny little filter to its own tab. So now on Friday, I can just click this and do that. But GreenSlate can even go further than that, and that I can go to Judy's desk, or I can get on the phone with Judy and I can walk her through how to make her own tab. So how would we do that? We would go over to our default tab to start, and we're going to go over to our settings wheel on the right. Now, every module has this option, and I suggest you do it in every module. You will have to do it in every module because every module is different. By clicking the settings wheel, all of the available columns for this module are available here. I can pick and choose which ones I want. If I don't want it, I can uncheck it. If I do want it, I can check it. And then I can even move things around. Like I said, I wanted to make sure that approval was always my third column over. There we go. Once I've gotten everything the way I've wanted it by clicking and moving them around, I can go ahead and close my settings wheel. I can save it by giving it a name, anything I want. I'm the only one who's seeing it. Give it a color, hitting confirm, and then going here to view. So I have my settings wheel to my options, my save for my name and saving, and then I go here and I find the one I just created and I go ahead and hit plus, and there it is right there. It's pinned right there for me, and I have access to it anytime I need to. You'll also see I created one called department heads. Because we are an all-in-one system, our crew members are now initiating transactions in the system, and our department heads, our approvers are now approving in the system, and they're approving the way they are looking at the system, the way we look at it. Excuse me. So if you think about it from a department head's point of view, they've never worked in an accounting system before. And if they get our default view, for us in accounting, this is a lot of fantastic information. Could be overwhelming for my department head, but I have created a department head screen. It's a lot easier for them to read and for them to understand, which is going to make your department heads happier, which is going to make your job and life easier. One of the other ways that the customizations and how we can use it to optimize our workflow is that each AP module has a summaries and a details page. I know for my entire career, I have always begged and pleaded to be able to search for POs by account number without having to go into a report. You can now do that. So summaries is going to tell me my summary, my entire PO. Details is going to give me a GL of my module. So here is every line item of the entirety of my module. I want to search by only set deck. I can go ahead in my account number and utilize the system to optimize what I am doing in the system. I'm looking for a specific PO. I know it's a set deck PO. I can sort it by amounts. I can do all these different ways of sorting and filtering to get to the information I want. I know it's for the vendor ash flowers. So now I've narrowed it down to every ash flowers. And if this is the PO I was looking for, I can click this and open this. You can also see you can customize your details page too. So you can make it look like an edit. So you can always see where you are with all of your flagging and all of your fields. So those are our custom views and our custom grid views. The main thing that I like to say, and whenever I'm training, I say this as accountants, it is in our blood that whenever we need information, we go to reports. As I showed you with Judy, and I'm showing you that I'm looking for the specific Ash PO that was for $2,500. I got all of this information without going to reports. All of that saved me time. All of these customizations and using this system to work for me and how I do my job saves me time and optimizes my workflow so that I'm not doing a lot of extra steps and not spinning my wheels of reading a PO, finding the PO number, then coming back to the system and clicking it when I can do it live and in real time right here. One of the other things that I found that really has helped me in making my workflows easier. I also think besides just making my workflows easier, my goal is to always close that window of opportunity for errors. And one of the ways we have to do that is both by managing managing code types. So all the other systems give us our free fields 1 to 4. But in this day and age, we are being asked to flag and tag more and more things for more and more reasons. And now that more and more people are understanding flagging and tagging, we're being asked sometimes by department heads, or payroll has their own flagging and tagging that they want to help them. And we're running out of free fields. GreenSlate gives you these dedicated free field columns. You'll see we have asset. Most of us are tracking carbon now. We have the, God forbid, insurance one. We have sub accounts. We have our tax credit. We still have our free fields 1 to 4. So whatever wild card flagging you want to do, you still have. But now you have 4 free fields to wild card flag from, and all of these. And every single one of these is customizable for how you are utilizing your show. So you only turn on the ones you need and turn off, and you don't turn on the ones you don't need. One of the other ways that I think is fantastic is if I'm going to jump over to my vendors real quick, and I want to show this one amazing thing. When you are creating your vendor in the system, there is an area called defaults. Here is where you're going to customize, optimize, and close that window for mistakes. Those free fields that we are always tracking, those ones that are so important, we can default a vendor to a tax code. So my demo is out of Georgia, so I know this vendor is always going to be a Georgia spend, or mostly going to be a Georgia spend. I can default it there. I know that they're a 1099. I can default it. So by defaulting all of this information and using these, every time this vendor is used, all of those cells are already filled out for me. So A, I don't have to remember to fill them out. B, I don't have to worry about skipping them. If I assign every vendor a tax credit code, I can make sure that every line is getting coded. If I pre-do my 1099s, I don't have to worry about losing them or going through it, working on them later on. All of that makes it so much easier on your work. The 2 seconds it takes you here saves you multiple seconds on every time you're entering a transaction. And I just find that to be just amazing to see that all happen default and auto. One of the other things it optimizes is we do a lot of auto for you, auto default, auto numbering, auto creating for you. Anything that GreenSlate offers for us to auto create, auto default, auto do, just say yes, please, and thank you. It's one less thing we have to do outside the system. We don't have to keep logs outside the system because the system optimizes everything for us. That which leads me to one of my worst fears in accounting as the accounting team of, we have been coding something wrong this entire project, or this vendor is now we know that they are, or they're not rebatable. So I'm going to toss it back over to Laura to talk about exporting files and our bulk downloads.
All right, thanks, Jenna. All right, go ahead. All right, there we go. Okay, so one of my favorite features that we have, which is like a huge time saver, is our download manager. So you're able to download any documents that you need from the application, whether that's payroll or accounting. So for example, if I click digital start work over here on the left, and go to my completed tab. I can change this to show 100 items at a time, and that's for accounting as well. And then I can select all, hit actions from the batch actions, and then download. It's going to download all of my completed start packets into a zip file, which I can access over here on the left in my downloads. You can do this for time cards, and it will include a check copy as well. And you can also do this for AP, which I'm going to give you an example of what the AP looks like. So the great thing about this too is that you're going to see on every time card, on the start packets, on all of your transactions, there's a file uploader. Anything that you think is relevant to that time card, start work, or transaction, upload it there. Any of that backup, because what's great is that the system is essentially going to manage those files for you, and then you can download it all together. So if I go over to my checks grid on the left here, also, if you're on mobile, the file uploader can access your phone's camera, which is pretty sweet. So you can just like take pictures of receipts and easily attach it to transactions that way. But here on the checks grid, regardless of how you pay an AP vendor, which we have a few different options, you can bulk download all of your payment copies. And I'm just going to show you an example of a check. And we can see here that it's going to have not only the check copy, because I had a check in my case for this payment, but it's also going to have the bill PDF. This is like the system generated one, which has all the coding on it, has your signatures on it. It also then includes the backup I uploaded to that bill. And if you use a PO, it's going to include the PO as well. I love the PO PDF because you have associated transactions on it. So you got like the drawdown right there for you. And then it also includes anything you uploaded to that PO. So basically everything that your clerk was doing, sitting there combining all this into Adobe, the system's going to do it for you, and it's freeing up your clerk to do, actually more like accounting on your project. Another great thing that we have is our file naming conventions. So if you have specific ways you want your start packet PDFs names, your time cards, your accounting transactions, we can set that up. And then when you download these files, they already have the naming convention of your choosing. You're not spending all that time sitting there renaming PDFs to, the necessary format. We also have the ability to, if you have like more than one project with us, you always want the same file naming conventions. You can tell your technical account manager that, and they're always going to make sure they set up the file naming conventions for you from the get-go.
And on that note, if you have multiple projects with us, or if you have custom forms, you can always add your custom forms to us, and we can keep those and keep using them on your project. So you have your forms you like, we can grab them from the last show and use that again as well. All those customizations from your last show can carry over to your next show.
Yep, definitely. All right, and then I'll hand it back to Jenna to wrap us up with recoding in GreenSlate.
So yes, so I was talking about some that dreaded project that comes down the pike of we have been coding, or the good news of we have been coding Amazon non-qualifiable for all this time, and now we just heard that Amazon does have a brick and mortar in my state. Did happen to me on a show. Unfortunately, it was not GreenSlate, and we had to go and do all of that tax coding ourselves, and it was not a fun project. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and there we go, and go over to I'm going to go over to my check requests right here. One of the things that Laura was talking about was in left nav, how easy it is. One of the other things I meant to point out on the customizations is within the left nav, you can pin the modules you use the most by just hovering over them, and a pin will show up on the left, and then you can keep them at the top right there. The other thing is I did it really quickly, and I should have shown you, our search bar is so intuitive that I was looking for check requests. So I just started CHE, and there it came, my check requests right there. So let's say we know that everything for the vendor Ash Flowers is actually not qualifiable. So I can go to my details module and my details grid in my module, and I'm going to go over here to tax credits. I'm going to go ahead and get all of my vendor of Ash Flowers. And I'm going to make sure I have all 22 items. And then I'm going to make sure I check all of them. And I'm going to go over to my edit button here. Anything that's in a box is editable. I can edit each box independently, or I can also bulk edit in by columns. If I wanted to do individually, I just click in there and I will click in there and individually change it. But for us right now, we want to make sure we are getting all of Ash Flowers, and we are changing that tax credit from Georgia Spend because they're actually not qualified. And we are going to click our NQ and double click that, and it's going to change every single line to NQ. And as soon as I hit submit, that will hit the system that way. So all of those tedious chores of we need to change something very quickly on a lot of bulk, our bulk edits are fantastic. You can do that from the GL. You can do that from any module. It's great if you can also change coding if you need to on certain ways if you haven't closed your period. So you really have a lot of ways to manipulate your data and make your changes quickly and on the fly, and without having to take a day and a half to get through a project. So I think that wraps up my bulk editing.
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna share my screen here real quick. I think we went a little bit longer than we planned to, but I think it shows, no, you're fine, Jenna. It was fantastic. And I think it just shows, like, I think we could spend several hours showing everybody how you can customize and the ways that you can optimize in GreenSlate. So this is definitely just scratching the surface. There's more. Trust me, there's more. So on your screen right now, you see the contact information for Laura and for Jenna. So if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to them. You also see a QR code, and I'm going to go ahead and pop to this screen here. If you've got questions, now's the moment to please put them in the Q&A box there at the bottom. And while we're giving everybody just a moment to get questions in, that QR code, if you just take out your phone, take a picture, I'm sure you know how to do that, but that will take you to our pro training page. And I just want to make sure everyone knows that we offer fully free training for all accountants, all levels of accountants. And the great thing about our training is that it's taught by Jenna and other accountants who have been in the field. And so not only are you learning our software, but you're learning some of the ins and outs of the job as well. So I can't say enough great things about our training. So you can take a screenshot there and link to the site and see what we currently have available as far as training. We have just a couple minutes left, so I want to start with some questions that were pre-submitted when people registered for the webinar, and then I see we've got a couple of questions that we can answer as well. So first up question is, can I use custom views in the employees grid?
Yes.
I'll take that. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
No, I would say yes, definitely. There are custom grid views by default, like there's already a crew list there for you, but across all the different modules, you're able to do custom grid views. For employees specifically, it's great because you can pull personal information. Like anything that we collect on that personal info page, you can create your own grid view for emergency contact info, dietary preferences, t-shirt size if you need it. So yeah, you can check it out on all of them. And Jen, I'll let you add to that.
Yeah, basically, anywhere but an entry screen, you can customize the view. We can't customize how our data goes into the system, but we can customize how we view and manipulate that data. That's kind of how I understand it, and that's how I think about it. So any way that I want to see my information, I can customize, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely does. I feel like it seems so silly to say, well, it saves a few seconds, but when you say a few seconds times 200 transactions or 200 start works or whatever, it makes a difference. So yeah.
Yep.
The next question is, are there additional fees for using the custom view functionality?
No, absolutely not. Unlike some of our competitors who, they charge for different features or functions, modules, you get everything when you're working with GreenSlate. So you have access to payroll and accounting. You can use all the customizations there. As long as you have access to a certain module, then you're able to customize your view that you have there.
Yeah. All right. And the last question that was pre-submitted is, what if I only want to see transactions for a specific location or work state?
on that grid with all of those different filters and sorts, you would make sure your location or work state column was utilized and turned on. And then in that filter over there, you would filter for whatever you wanted to see by either filtering to exclude it or include it or only include it. Just like you kind of would in Excel. Think Excel Excel ways. That's exactly how you can sort and filter all of your data.
Yeah. So many ways to sort and filter, right? Yeah, perfect. All right, well, those were the pre-submitted questions. We have a few that have been submitted as we've been going here today. So the first one is from Lisa, and Lisa would like to know, how do you clear out your notifications on items that were not addressed before the period was closed?
So then the system doesn't actually kind of work that way, Lisa. So the notifications are just on their pattern. You're going to, if department head hasn't closed, you can keep telling them to notify, but once you close, it's going to close wherever that transaction was at that moment. So if department head hasn't approved it before you close, it's going to stay in that when you close. You can use, as Laura pointed out, that re-email, that resend notification, and you can keep re-notifying them or fuss at them via email or text.
Yeah, because I mean, pretty much like when you close a period, anything that's pending approval, it's gonna, if the effective date was in that closed period range, it's gonna reissue it to be into the next period. And then it will still be pending approval because like, unless you decide you don't even want that transaction anymore, then you delete it. Otherwise, it's still gonna continue to exist on the approval flow step it's currently on.
Alrighty, that makes sense. Our next question is from Wesley, and Wesley would like to know, can users choose to get a rush notification as a text?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's a great question. It will come
Not
in time.
Yeah.
Just wait. It's on.
Yeah.
It's in the ether that it's on our wish lists, our roadmaps.
Yeah. Okay. And another question from Shauna, can we see if an employee has direct deposit set up?
Yes, that's on the employees grid. There's a column for the payment method, and it will say direct deposit or check there. So you can make your own custom grid view just for that, like the name and then the payment method if you want.
Perfect. Yep. More ways to customize, right? And it looks like somebody left a comment about how they like to customize. That it's Pamela uses custom views on everything. And it makes her life so much simpler. And she's laid it out so that she can export from there to Excel in the format that works best for auditors as well. So just, yeah. Yep. Thumbs up from Jenna.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. That's
Yep.
perfect. That's my dream.
Yep. So, well, we are right at time. Does anybody have any last questions that they want us to address? If so, feverishly type those in the Q&A quickly for us. Otherwise, we are going to end here for today. And I thank everyone for spending some of your Friday with us. And I see a little heart reaction. Thank you guys so much. So we appreciated you spending some of your Friday with us. And if you think of additional questions after we're done, again, please feel free to reach out to Laura or Jenna. We're happy to answer your questions. We forgot to say it, or maybe we did, but our customer service is one of the things that sets us apart. So we can guarantee you we will get back to you and we will make sure that your questions are answered. So, all righty.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.